to bring you some breaking news now. Parts of Myanmar and Thailand have been hit by a strong earthquake. The magnitude of the quake in Bangkok has been 7.3 on the Richter scale. Residents of the Thai capital say they've felt buildings sway from side to side and rushed outside. Some minor damage has been reported. Tony Cheng's on the phone from Naypyidaw, the capital there. Tony, just talk us through what has been going on over the last hour or so.
Well, we had just finished an interview with Myanmar's government spokesman. We were wrapping up. We'd seen him leave the building and drive off, which was very good fortune as it happened. The earthquake struck as we were literally stepping out of the door. We didn't have time to get out of the building. We hid under the door jamb. The building shook very violently for about 30 seconds. Bits of plaster, roofing fell down. One large chunk of a huge column fell off the side of the building, narrowly missing one of the government media team that was with us. Thankfully, here, nobody seems to have been hurt too badly. It did feel very strong. The initial reports were 4.5 on the Richter scale. It felt much stronger than that. I understand it's now been registered as 7.7. We understand the epicenter was close to Moniwa. That's about 100 kilometers to the west of here. But Myanmar is a country without great infrastructure. Now, the government minister who returned afterwards did say to me that he hoped people here should be okay, that Myanmar was a country where people usually lived in one-story buildings, often made of wood, and that in an earthquake like this, it would be good, but I think there will be real concern about the cities, Yangon and Mandalay in particular, which are very overcrowded at the moment. Many people sheltering from the civil war that's raging in the countryside and close to the borders. And this is a country without great building standards or infrastructure, as I said. So I think there'll be real concern about how it's impacted those cities.
Tony, can you tell me, is this an area that is prone to this kind of thing? Do people understand what's going on when there are... when we get to that point and they see buildings moving and stuff, do people get frightened? What's it like there?
It's not common, but it's also not unknown. That said, 7.7 is very strong. I'm not sure how that'll compare with those of the past. I think if you look to the east of the country, the hills that go up to the Himalayas, there are fault lines there, and we have seen earthquakes in the past, some of which have been felt down in Thailand, although usually if there's an earthquake inside Myanmar, it rarely gets beyond the north, and very rarely does it get felt down in Bangkok. I think Thailand is fairly, the building standards there are relatively good. I think there won't be too much concern. It's much more likely to be here in Myanmar, where levels of building standards are not high, where the infrastructure is very poor. And I think, again, very hard for me to talk about what's going on in the rest of the country. We have just spent the last hour trying to assess what's going on immediately around us, and I can't see too much damage. But knowing Yangon and Mandalay as I do, I think there'll be real worries about what's happened there.
Yeah, Tony, we're just, as you're talking to us, seeing some pictures that are coming to us from Bangkok of some of the buildings being affected by the earthquake in Thailand. And also we'd seen some internal shots of lights in an office swinging backwards and forwards as the quake was striking. I appreciate, of course, that you are in one particular area of Myanmar, and it's difficult to get an idea of what's happening across the rest of the country. But I think we can go to Imran Khan, who's joining us on the phone from Bangkok. Imran, just quickly describe to us, first of all, what the impact has been there.
Well, where I am in central Bangkok, it's actually come to a standstill. All the buildings are completely empty. Everybody's out on the street. The metro and the SkyTrain have also stopped working for now. The earthquake is about 7.3 magnitude. It's said to be quite shallow, which is a relief for the residents of Bangkok. But we are hearing that there have been some slight damage to buildings in the older side of the Bangkok area, those buildings obviously being a lot older than the modern ones where I am currently. But right now, it does seem like a kind of a calm panic, if you will. People are on their phones. They're trying to get as much information as possible, but no one's really, running around and being frantic. The police here, I've just been speaking to them. They've told me that the buildings around the center of the area are likely to be shuttered for the rest of the day.
Imran, I don't know if you and the team, when you were there, were affected or felt any of the movement there. If you were, are you able to describe to us what it's like? Because so many people around the world don't experience this kind of thing.
I actually felt it, and it was that moment where you feel the ground shake, and your immediate thoughts are, okay, is this an earthquake? It was over very, very quickly, but it was a very definite shaking of the ground. Now, I've been in earthquakes in various countries before, Pakistan, for one example, where there have been serious earthquakes where people are literally under the tables trying to get as much shelter as possible. That didn't happen here. But it doesn't really happen in Bangkok. The people I've been speaking to around the center are very surprised that they felt the earthquake here, given, as my colleague Tony Cheng was just reporting there, that the epicenter was in Myanmar. Now, right now, people are, like I say, calm, but it has been a bit of a shock to people, especially when the ground does move beneath your feet. It is a very unnerving experience.
Imran, do we know if the building codes in Thailand particularly allow for this kind of movement? I mean, I understand what you're saying about the fact that where you are specifically, it's unusual to feel this kind of movement. Broadly speaking, in that region, is this something that the construction firms have to build in, if you like, some sort of resilience to this kind of thing?
Well, I think what you're saying is in the center of town where the buildings are much more modern, yes, they are likely to have been built not with that particularly in mind, but certainly as part of the building code and regulations. But where I'm speaking to people from kind of older Bangkok and friends, they are worried because those buildings are a lot older and they were never designed to survive an earthquake. And we are hearing just in the last few moments, as I've been speaking to you, that in the region, in the neighborhood of Chatuchuk, we are hearing that some buildings have suffered minor damage. That is going to be a concern to people, particularly in old Bangkok, as it were. But here in the center, I think it's fairly, like I say, it's very, very calm. But once again, we do not get earthquakes in Bangkok that often. So people are a little unnerved by all of this and sort of wondering if their friends and their family are okay. And that's, as you see, most people here are now on their phones, either trying to get hold of people or checking the news.
Yeah, Imran, just as you're talking to us there, we're looking at some of the pictures of the buildings being damaged as they're being shaking, or certainly what appears to be dust and rubble falling off the tops of large buildings as they've been swaying. Imran Khan in Bangkok, thank you very much indeed.